So we did get a frost out here a little under a week ago. It did quite a bit of damage, and it was 5 weeks early from our anticipated frost date. We also had a few rainy and really windy days, and our heavy sunflowers are really drooped over now. We want to save seeds from them and let them dry and feed the seeds to the chickens. That's a nice looking jalapeno. So since I'm out here harvesting tomatoes today, I'm just gonna cut the top growth part of my plants off and throw it over there to compost. I just found a tomato hornworm. So I'm hoping by cutting these tops off that my tomatoes are gonna stop trying to grow. There's like blossoms on here. And just turn all of this fruit red. So this tomato got frost damage the other day. It's unfortunate. That's all right, the chickens and the ducks will like it. This is what I harvested from the garden today. There are other things out there. We still have cabbages going, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, lots of different peppers, tomatillos. So there's still more out there and there's still more growing. This is all I harvested today though, because this was the stuff that I wanted to deal with, like the winter squashes. It's not gonna hurt them if they stay out there longer. Same with the potatoes. Broccoli, we're probably gonna harvest tomorrow for dinner. And we still have like a month till our supposed first frost date, even though we had a really light one and then a second more damaging one already. I was hoping for more tomatoes because I want to make tomato sauce. I still might, and just see how much I get. These herbs, I have sage and I have chocolate mint on here. Those are gonna go on the dehydrator, and the green beans are gonna be for dinner tonight. I forgot all about harvesting my cherry tomatoes. So hopefully that'll make me have more tomatoes for my tomato sauce. So not a ton more tomatoes, but still tomatoes. So I'm making jalapeno poppers for lunch. I'm just cutting the jalapenos in half and ripping all of the seeds and the membranes out to make it not as hot. Then I'm gonna fill them with cream cheese, wrap them with bacon, I'm gonna try something new. I'm not gonna bake them in my oven. I'm going to put them in a cast iron and put them on my grill. I normally put the cream cheese face side up. Today I'm putting it down to see if it makes it not leak out as much, which I know that sounds backwards, but I have to flip these over halfway through cooking. So I think the cream cheese might do better upside down. We'll see. I could be totally wrong. So I have them on the grill and we'll check them in like a half hour. The rest of the jalapenos are just going to be washed and put in a freezer bag just like this and put in the freezer, and it's just going to be labeled jalapenos in the year. So I'm going to wash all the tomatoes. These ones are San Marzano paste tomato, and I'm just going to throw them in my Dutch oven. I do not have any oil or anything in that. I'm just going to squeeze out some of the tomatoes to make the liquid in the bottom so it doesn't burn. So we live in Northern Michigan, gardening zone 5A, and we're able to grow different types of tomato varieties here. This is a slicing tomato. It might actually be a beefsteak tomato, the way it's like kind of ridged around like that. So for the bigger tomatoes, I'm just coring them, cutting out any blemishes, and then I'll just quarter them. We really like San Marzano tomatoes. They're a paste tomato and they work really good for sauce, which is what we're making today. Hopefully it's enough to can, but it's probably not. I'm gonna cook those in a Dutch oven so it has a nice heavy bottom. My bigger one is actually in use right now also, so I'm probably gonna have to do a couple batches of tomatoes today, cooking them down anyways. And then the cherry tomatoes, I'm just gonna throw in. My work area is starting to be in full sun. It's about 1 o'clock right now. So I have this pot pretty full. I do have more tomatoes to put in here once it cooks down. Whoops. To get this started before I turn it on, I am gonna squeeze some of the tomato juice out of the cut tomatoes, so that way there's a liquid at the bottom so my tomatoes won't burn as easily. And then I'm just kind of lifting the tomatoes up so the juice can get on the bottom. And then I'm gonna just turn this on low, keep an eye on it, mash it down while it's cooking, and then either just add more tomatoes to this pot or let this pot cook and do the tomatoes again in the same pot. I haven't decided yet. So these tomatoes have cooked down a little bit. I'm gonna add some more in here. I hope I don't overfill this pot when all the sauce is done. We'll see. And then I have more tomatoes I still need to cut up and put in this pot too. So these have actually been on here closer to a half hour. They weren't, oh, I did move them over. They weren't this done when I went in the house. I moved them over and then it took me a little bit longer in the house than I expected. So I probably should have been out here like 5 minutes ago. What does it look like? I'm gonna try to drain some of the grease off of the bottom of them. Now I'm just gonna take my tongs, I'm gonna flip all of them over. So they're all flipped over. I'm just gonna move these back over here. This is a 4-burner grill and I have these 2 burners off. And then I have these ones on, regulating the heat in here. So it's been another 30 minutes since we flipped these over. These look good to me. You can take them as crispy as you would like them, but this is how we like them. So I turned my oven off and I'm just gonna let these cool down and I'm gonna eat them. And they are gonna be delicious. So it's been about 2.5, 3 hours now. As you can see, this has cooked down. It was all the way up here, now it's down to there. I give it a good stir. All the skins are still in here. I did not peel and blanch these. Cherry tomatoes are still pretty round. But for the next step, I'm just gonna immersion blend it. And this is really hot, like it's still boiling. And I still have the heat on, so be very careful. I'm probably gonna get burnt because that's just how it is. And what I'm doing with this is I'm basically just breaking down the rest of the tomato that hasn't cooked all the way down yet, breaking up the skins, trying to get all of the sauce out of here that I can. So this looks pretty good. There's not a lot of like tomato chunks when I bring my spoon up. There's a cherry tomato I didn't get. So this sauce is looking really good. It's nice and thick. There's not a lot of water in here. So next I'm gonna try to get some of the skins out of here and any chunks of tomato that I don't want in here. And then I'm actually gonna save these and put them on my dehydrator and turn them into tomato powder. I do have some in my fridge from a different canning project earlier this week that I did not film. I made a bunch of cabbage rolls earlier this week and I made a tomato sauce and canned it so that way when we go to make the cabbage rolls, all I have to do is pull those out of the freezer, open a jar of sauce, and put them in the oven. Really looking forward to that. This will be a new thing to us for this winter. We haven't done that before. We've made cabbage rolls before, but we haven't like froze big batches of them and made sauce and canned it. I got this much tomato skins out of the sauce. There's some water in here. I'm probably just gonna strain that one more time before I put out my dehydrator. So this sauce is the consistency I want. It's not like thick like a paste, but it's definitely thicker like a sauce. I've been debating and going back and forth about what I want to do with this sauce. I haven't even decided still yet what I want to do with it. I don't know if I want to add like onions and green peppers and garlic and spices and turn this into a pasta sauce. It's probably only about like 3 quarts of sauce, so that's not even a half full canner. I thought about just canning it as tomato juice in doing it in pint-sized jars because we don't have any pints of tomato juice. So I decided what I want to do with my sauce. I turned it back on low. I'm going to add these peppers and onions that are in our, or were in our freezer. And then I'm going to add this garlic that I just chopped from our garlic. And then I'm going to stir it all in. And I decided I'm not going to add any seasonings. And this is just going to be something that we call a base sauce. So it's going to have the onions, the green pepper, and the garlic in it. And then we'll add the salt when we put it in the jars. And then when we go to use it, we can season it however we want. I'm going to let that cook for a little bit while I go get my jars ready for the canner. So before I fill my jars up with sauce, I'm going to get my pressure canner warming up because my sauce is hot and my canner and hose water is really cold. So that's what the sauce looks like. I only washed 4 jars, so let's see what we got here. I typically like to fill my canner every time I can. Right now, how tomatoes are ripening and my work schedule is, it's just better to do it on the weekends when I can. I gotta run back in the house and grab the salt because I forgot that. Each of these are gonna get 1 teaspoon of salt. This is a pickling and canning salt. I got it on clearance. You could use regular salt for this if you wanted. The canning salt makes your jars not get cloudy. In recipes like this, it doesn't matter because it already is cloudy. And then pickling and canning salt make it stay clear. Wipe the rims off every time. Make sure there's nothing to separate your lid in the jar. And these are going in the pressure canner, I think 25 minutes, but I'm gonna have to look it up because I can't remember. So this is all done processing now. It's cooled down a little bit. That is what our sauce looks like. And it canned at 11 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes. And that's gonna be it for this video. I will see you on the next one.